In the deserts and forests and on islands, some plants have grown not for height, but for sheer bulk. These are nature's giants, trees and succulents with swollen trunks and water-storing bodies so thick they seem almost impossible. Today we're going to take a look at 15 of the fattest plants on Earth. Let's start with number 15, the baobab tree, Africa. So the African baobab, it's often called the tree of life, and for good reason. It's not only one of the most distinctive trees in the world, but also one of the fattest. It's native to the savannas of sub-Saharan Africa. This tree is known for its immense swollen trunk, which can reach up to 46 feet in diameter and occasionally even more in extreme cases. Individual trees can live for well over 1,000 years, with some carbon-dated specimens estimated to be more than 2,000 years old. Now, the trunk isn't made of dense wood like that of most trees. Instead, it consists of a soft fibrous material that's capable of storing large amounts of water, sometimes over 100,000 liters. During the rainy season, the tree absorbs and retains this water in its spongy tissues, and during the dry months, it slowly uses this reserve to sustain itself. The size of the baobab's trunk often gives it an unusual bulbous appearance, kind of like an upside-down root system. In fact, the baobab has been nicknamed the upside-down tree because of its branch structure, which looks like a tangle of roots when leafless in the dry season. The bark is smooth and gray, and it's often scarred by elephants that strip it to access the water beneath. The trees produce large white flowers that open up at night and are pollinated mainly by bats, and these flowers develop into woody, oval-shaped fruits known as monkey bread, which contain a dry, tangy pulp rich in vitamin C and calcium. The fruit, the bark, and the leaves have been used by local communities for food, medicine, and materials, and even its hollowed-out trunks have been used as shelters, storage rooms, or even small chapels in rural Africa. One of the most famous baobabs, the Sunland baobab in South Africa, was once thought to be the widest tree in the world with a circumference of more than 111 feet. It had a hollow trunk large enough to contain a small bar and a wine cellar. Unfortunately, though, the tree partially collapsed in 2017 after centuries of slow decay, which is a common fate among these older baobabs. Research published in Nature in 2018 noted that several of Africa's oldest and largest baobabs have died in recent years, likely due to prolonged drought and changing climate. Despite its size, though, it grows relatively slowly. It takes decades for the trunk to reach its full thickness, and the tree's irregular growth rings makes determining its age pretty difficult. Scientists have to rely on radiocarbon dating rather than ring counts. In terms of sheer volume, few plants even compare. The baobab's not just one of the fattest plants on Earth. It's a living reservoir, an ecological cornerstone, and a wonder that sustained humans and wildlife for countless generations. Number 14. The Tule tree in Mexico. The Tule tree is located in the town of Santa Maria del Tule in Oaxaca, Mexico. It is widely regarded as the stoutest single tree in the world. It's also known as Montezuma cypress or huehuete. This tree has a trunk so massive it dominates the churchyard where it stands. It measures about 42 meters or 138 feet in circumference and about 14 meters or 46 feet wide in diameter at its widest point, which is a record recognized by Guinness World Records. Local observers have noted shapes that resemble animals and faces within its bark, and because the trunk spreads unevenly, researchers debated whether the Tule tree might be a fusion of several trunks growing together. However, a genetic study conducted in 2001 confirmed that it is, in fact, a single individual organism, not a cluster. Continuous access to water from underground sources allows it to maintain that lush green foliage year-round, even during Oaxaca's dry season. The tree's broad base supports a trunk filled with fibrous, water-retaining wood that resists decay. The Tule tree is estimated to be around 1,200 to 2,000 years old, though precise dating has been pretty difficult. It's been cared for and revered by local Zapotec communities for centuries, long before Spanish colonization. The tree holds cultural and spiritual significance for the people. The name Ahuehuete in Nahuatl means Old Man of the Water. This massive trunk and longevity has made it a symbol of their resilience and continuity in the region. In recent years, though, concerns have been raised about nearby urban development and potential groundwater depletion. However, local environmentalists and botanists continue to monitor it closely with regular health assessments. Standing about 35 meters tall and weighing an estimated 600 tons, its proportions are extraordinary even among large conifers. While other trees may reach greater heights or total volumes, none can match the Tule tree's compact, globe-like density. In the world of plants, it represents a singular marvel of girth and endurance. That's what they say about me, and it's not merely a record holder for trunk width. It is a living witness to centuries of human history and environmental change. Number 13. Grandidier's baobab in Madagascar. Found only in Madagascar, known as Grandidier's baobab, it's the largest and most famous of the island's 6 native species. Often called the giants of Madagascar, these trees have become icons of their unique landscape, especially along the Avenue of the Baobabs near Morondava. These trees are remarkable for their size and thickness. Mature specimens typically reach about 25 to 30 meters in height, but their trunks can swell to over 10 meters in diameter. This enormous girth gives the tree its distinctive bottle-like silhouette, narrow at the top and bulbous in the middle. Like other baobabs, their trunks are composed of soft, fibrous wood designed to store water, and some individuals can hold tens of thousands of liters, turning them into a natural water reservoir for surrounding life. The bark of it is smooth and gray, with vertical streaks and a texture resembling elephant skin. The branches form a sparse, flat-topped crown that has small dark green leaves during the wet season, which are shed when the weather turns dry. From November to February, the trees bloom with large white flowers that open at dusk and are pollinated by fruit bats. These flowers produce elongated woody fruit pods containing seeds that are coated in a dry, edible pulp, which is an important food source for local wildlife. It grows mainly in the semi-arid regions of western Madagascar, which is an area under increasing pressure from agriculture and deforestation. It is classified as endangered by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, and the primary threats to its survival are habitat loss and reduced regeneration due to grazing. Local communities here view the baobab as sacred, and many villages protect the largest specimens as cultural landmarks. One of the most photographed sites in Madagascar, the Avenue of the Baobab, features about 20 of these giant trees lining a dirt road. Scientists estimate some of them to be more than 800 years old. Although the area isn't formally protected, conservation organizations and local authorities have collaborated to preserve this national monument. Standing beneath a Grandidier's baobab is a humbling experience. The trunk towers like a column of living stone, radiating heat absorbed from the sun. In a landscape where few plants grow above human height, these massive, fat trees dominate the horizon. Number 12. The dragon blood tree in Yemen. On the island of Socotra, located in the Arabian Sea and belonging to Yemen, grows one of the strangest plants on Earth, the dragon blood tree. Now, while not the widest in the traditional sense like baobab or cypress, it earns a place among the world's fattest plants because of its unusually thick umbrella-shaped trunk that stores both water and resin in a compact, densely fibrous core. The dragon blood tree is endemic to Socotra, which is an island that's known for its isolation. It grows mainly on limestone plateaus and mountain ridges at elevations of between 300 to 1,500 meters, where moisture is scarce. To survive in this environment, the tree has evolved a thick, rounded trunk that minimizes water loss and supports a canopy shaped like an inverted umbrella. This canopy funnels moisture from the air and occasional fog down towards the roots, helping the tree to gather every drop of available water. With a trunk diameter up to 2 meters or about 6.5 feet, though not as broad as a baobab, the dragon's blood tree's dense resin-filled core gives it a heavy, compact appearance. Its gray bark exudes a deep red resin known as dragon's blood. It's used since ancient times as dye, medicine, and incense. This resin is one of the key reasons the tree has been so closely studied and protected. The branches grow in thick clusters, splitting repeatedly in a pattern called dichotomous branching. This creates a perfectly rounded crown that shades the trunks and roots, reducing evaporation from the ground below. The leaves, narrow and waxy, grow only at the ends of the youngest branches and are shed before the dry season. Beneath this canopy, temperatures can be several degrees cooler than in the open, which creates a bit of a microclimate that supports smaller plants. These trees grow extremely slowly. Some individuals are thought to be several hundred years old, though accurate age estimates are difficult due to the lack of growth rings. Unfortunately, this species is now classified as vulnerable by the IUCN. Habitat degradation, overgrazing by livestock, and climate change have all contributed to the declining regeneration rates. Despite the threats, though, conservation projects led by Yemeni scientists and international researchers are working to preserve it through seed banking, replanting programs, and community education. Visually, the dragon blood tree looks kind of alien. A swollen trunk and a flat, dense canopy give it the silhouette of a giant mushroom rising up from the desert. Yet everything about its design serves a purpose. Its fatness is not an excess, it's efficiency. The thick trunk and compact crown make it a living reservoir of water and life in an otherwise barren landscape. Number 11. The giant saguaro cactus. The saguaro cactus is one of the most iconic and massive plants in North America. It often serves as the symbol of the American Southwest. It's native to the Sonoran Desert of Arizona, California, and northwestern Mexico. The saguaro is not only exceptionally tall, but it is incredibly thick, capable of storing thousands of liters of water in its spongy tissues. A mature saguaro can reach about 12 to 18 meters, that's 40 to 60 feet in height, and weigh up to 3,200 kilograms, that's 7,000 pounds when fully hydrated. The trunk and those characteristic arms expand and contract depending on the water availability, and after a heavy rainfall, the pleated accordion-like skin stretches outward as the cactus absorbs water through shallow roots that spread wide but not deep, typically less than about 30 centimeters or 1 foot below the surface. Although the saguaro may appear as a single column, it is a highly complex structure internally. Its thick green outer skin contains chlorophyll for photosynthesis, while an inner layer of tough wooden ribs provides support. These ribs remain even after the plant dies, forming a skeletal-like structure that can persist in the desert for decades. The girth of a mature saguaro can exceed 70 centimeters or about 28 inches in diameter. But when counting its many branches, some with diameters of half a meter or more, the overall mass of the plant makes it one of the fattest succulents in the world. They grow extremely slowly, often just a few centimeters in their first decade. They may not produce their first flowers until they're about 35 years old, and arms typically begin to form only after about 50 years. These arms increase the surface area for photosynthesis and water storage, and some saguaros have over 20 branches, making them appear even more massive. Lifespans often exceed over 150 years, with some specimens believed to be more than 200 years old. The plant flowers in the late spring. It produces a large white blossom that open at night and close by the next afternoon. Pollination is carried out mainly by bats, birds, and insects, and the fruits that follow provide food for desert animals like doves, woodpeckers, and coyotes. The indigenous peoples of the Sonoran Desert have used the saguaro fruit for centuries as a source of food and drink. These cacti are also affected by invasive species and human development. However, much of their native range in the southern United States is protected, especially within Saguaro National Park near Tucson, Arizona, where some of the largest and oldest individuals are preserved. Its fat, ribbed body is a living cistern, capable of withstanding conditions that would kill most other plants. Towering above the desert floor, it's a symbol of adaptation in one of the planet's harshest environments. Number 10. The quiver tree. The quiver tree is one of the largest species of aloe in the world, distinguished by its thick sculptural trunk and its appearance in the landscapes of southern Africa. Native to Namibia and the northern Cape Province of South Africa, it thrives in rocky deserts and mountains where rainfall is scarce. Despite its common name, the quiver tree is not a true tree, but a succulent related to smaller aloe plants. However, the size and shape make it appear like a tree. Mature specimens can reach 7 to 9 meters tall, with a stout trunk up to 1 meter in diameter. The trunk and branches are covered in a distinctive golden brown bark that peels away in paper-thin flakes, reflecting sunlight and protecting the plant from heat. Beneath this bark lies a fibrous, water-rich interior that's capable of storing large quantities of moisture. Now, the quiver tree gets its name from the San, the Bushman people, who traditionally hollowed out its branches to make quivers for their arrows. The fibrous, lightweight structure of the branches made them ideal for this purpose, and indigenous communities have also used the tree's hollow trunks as natural refrigerators. Thanks to the water stored inside, the interior remains cool even during heat. The width of these plants is a reflection of the water storage capacity. During the rainy season, it absorbs as much moisture as possible and slowly releases it through the dry months. The soft, spongy tissue can expand when water is plentiful, which makes the older trees particularly thick and swollen. Some individuals are estimated to be 200 to 300 years old. The tree blooms in late winter to early spring, producing clusters of bright yellow tubular flowers that attract birds and insects. When in bloom, entire areas of these trees, known as quiver tree forests, create some of the most photogenic landscapes in Namibia. The quiver tree forest near Chapman contains over 250 mature specimens. It's been declared a national monument. But rising temperatures and shifting rainfall patterns have already caused declines in some populations, particularly those at lower elevations. A 2010 study in diversity and distributions found that the species is migrating southward and uphill in response to changing conditions, leaving behind dead stands in regions that have become too hot and dry even for this hardy plant. Despite the challenges, though, many quiver trees continue to thrive in reserves and remote areas. Their fatness isn't merely aesthetic, it's a reflection of survival. Each trunk is a living reservoir, an archive of the desert's rhythms written in flesh and fiber. Against the backdrop of the desert, its silhouette is unmistakable. It's an emblem of endurance and a masterpiece of natural design. Number 9. The bottle tree. Native to the dry inland regions of Queensland, Australia, the bottle tree is one of nature's most perfectly named species. Its trunk swells dramatically into a bottle-like shape, allowing it to store thousands of liters of water to survive. This adaptation has earned it a place among the fattest plants on Earth and made it a symbol of survival in Australia's semi-arid land. A mature bottle tree typically grows to about 10 to 20 meters in height, with a trunk diameter that can exceed 3.5 meters. The base is bulbous, tapering upwards into a narrower neck before branching out into a canopy of glossy lobed leaves. Its thick pale gray bark conceals a spongy inner tissue that acts as the reservoir, and that feature makes the trunk appear swollen for much of the year, giving it its unmistakably fat form. Now, unlike most trees, this one is deciduous not due to the cold weather, but as a drought response. It sheds its leaves during dry periods to conserve water, often appearing bare for months until the rain returns. Its similarity to baobabs are more than coincidental. Both have evolved independently to thrive in arid regions by using water-storing trunks, and Aboriginal Australians have long known of that feature. They use the inner bark as an emergency water source and the fibrous wood for making ropes and nets. Farmers sometimes planted bottle trees in pastures as shade trees for livestock, and during severe droughts, cattle have been known to eat the moist inner bark for hydration and nutrients. The tree is a favorite ornamental species in dry cities like Brisbane and Toowoomba, where its thick silhouette stands out in parks and avenues. They are slow-growing. They often take decades to reach the full girth, but it can live for over 150 years. Unlike baobabs, which have hollow interiors, the bottle tree's trunk is solid throughout, filled with fibrous water-storing tissue. Birds, insects, and small mammals use its branches for nesting and shade, while the hollowed-out bases of older specimens can accumulate organic matter that supports microhabitats. Because of its unusual proportion and look, the bottle tree is often described as whimsical or cartoonish in appearance, but that swollen trunk is an elegant solution to a problem that defines much of inland Australia: how to endure extreme drought. Number 8. The baobab of Simenon-Petsotsa. In the southwestern corner of Madagascar, near Simenon-Petsotsa National Park, is one of the island's most massive trees. Although less famous internationally than Grandidier's baobab, this species produces some of the thickest trunks in the genus, and it plays a vital role in the ecosystem and cultures of Madagascar's dry forests. A mature specimen can reach 30 meters or about 98 feet in height, with a trunk diameter frequently exceeding 10 meters or about 33 feet. Like its relatives, it has a bottle-shaped trunk capable of storing huge amounts of water, up to 120,000 liters in extreme cases. It can endure the long dry season that defines Madagascar's southern climate. The trunk is spongy and fibrous rather than woody, and the bark can be up to 10 centimeters thick, that's 4 inches. The branches spread widely at the top, which forms a canopy that supports numerous bird species and provides shade for animals and people below. The small green leaves appear during the rainy season, followed by a large reddish-orange flower pollinated mainly by lemurs and fruit bats. These blooms will develop into elongated pods containing seeds covered in a dry, edible pulp similar to that of other baobabs. The fruit is locally consumed and used in traditional medicine. The name za comes from the Malagasy word for baobab, and it reflects the tree's cultural importance. For local communities, a za is sacred. It's a symbol of fertility and endurance. In many villages, the largest baobab in the area is considered the guardian of the land, and felling one is very taboo. The trunks of older trees often become hollow with age, which provides shelter for people, livestock, or even a tomb for your ancestors. Scientists have studied it to understand how they manage to maintain their immense size without collapsing under their own weight. The interior consists of multiple intertwined stems that grow together, forming a strong yet flexible cylinder. The same structure makes baobabs difficult to age precisely, as they lack traditional growth rings. Radiocarbon dating has shown that some of the largest specimens of this one are over 1,000 years old. During the dry season, it provides moisture, food, and shade to countless species, and it acts as an anchor for the surrounding ecosystem. The hollow interior can hold pools of rainwater, which offers a temporary refuge for amphibians, birds, and insects. They are facing increasing threats from habitat loss and deforestation. Recent studies have documented die-offs among some of the largest and oldest baobabs, possibly due to changes in rainfall and rising temperatures. Conservation efforts are underway within the national park to protect the remaining populations and promote natural regeneration. But standing before one of these trees is a humbling experience. The size and girth of it appear almost architectural. It's like a living fortress of wood and water. While the Grandidier's baobab might be the more photographed species, the za baobab holds its own as one of the fattest living plants on Earth. Moving on to number 7, the African candelabra tree. The African candelabra tree is one of the largest succulent plants in the world and one of Africa's most visually distinctive. It's native to the savannas and rocky hills of Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, and the Sudan. The species can grow to more than 12 meters or 40 feet tall and develop an exceptionally thick water-storing trunk. Although it looks like a cactus, it's not part of the cactus family. It belongs to the group of plants that have independently evolved similar adaptations to these kinds of conditions. The tree's thick stems are filled with a milky, latex-like sap that acts as a water reserve, but it is also highly toxic. This caustic sap deters herbivores and causes severe burns or blindness if it contacts skin or eyes. The indigenous peoples have long known to avoid this sap, but have used it in small amounts for traditional medicine. During the brief rainy season, the tree produces small clusters of yellow-green flowers that attract pollinating insects. The fruits that follow are round, fleshy capsules that burst open when ripe, scattering seeds that can germinate quickly when moisture is available. One remarkable aspect is the water storage capacity. The thick, fleshy trunk acts like a reservoir, enabling the tree to remain fat and upright through months of drought. Even in the harshest seasons, the trunk remains moist and remains turgid, while nearby vegetation will wither. In extreme conditions, it can draw on this stored water for many months, which sustains both itself and other life like birds and small mammals. It typically grows on dry slopes and escarpments where few other large plants will even survive. The root system will penetrate deeply into crevices to find groundwater and anchor the plant against the strong wind. Its wood, though lightweight and porous, has occasionally been used for furniture and construction, despite the danger of the toxic latex. Conservation efforts in East Africa now encourage protecting old stands, which recognize their cultural importance too. The candelabra tree is like a living sculpture. It's an immense green structure that was shaped by drought and sun. The fat, thick trunk filled with toxic sap and precious water is one of nature's most effective survival strategies. Number 6. The Coquito palm, Chile. The Coquito palm, native to central Chile, is not only one of the fattest palms in the world, but also one of the thickest trunk trees of any kind. Mature individuals can reach up to 25 meters or 82 feet in height, with trunks that can grow over 6 feet in diameter. This grayish trunk, smooth, cylindrical, and slightly swollen at the base, stores both water and carbohydrates, which allows it to survive in these semi-arid climates. The palm is sometimes called the Chilean wine palm because its sap was historically used to make fermented beverages known as palm wine. Unfortunately, harvesting this sap required cutting down the tree, which led to severe population declines by the 19th century. Its trunk is composed of dense fibrous tissues that make it unusually strong, and unlike many palms which have relatively thin stems, this one accumulates thick layers of vascular fibers that expand outward as the tree ages. The palm produces large, feathery fronds that can reach about 16 feet in length. Each tree produces clusters of small yellowish flowers that give rise to round fruits about the size of a grape, known as coquitos. These edible fruits contain a miniature version of a coconut, a hard-shelled nut with a thin layer of white flesh. The coquito palms are extremely slow-growing. It can take about 40 to 60 years for a seedling to reach reproductive maturity, and they often live for about 400 years or more. This longevity combined with their immense thickness makes them both ancient and an enduring feature of Chile's dry landscape. The largest individuals are found in La Campana National Park and Ocoa Valley, where protected populations still thrive. Conservation efforts led by Chilean botanists and park managers has helped stabilize the wild populations, and the tree is increasingly cultivated as an ornamental species. Standing beside a mature tree, one can sense the immediate solidity. The trunk feels cool to the touch, its pale surface showing faint growth rings and weathered scars accumulated over the centuries. These are trees that outlast generations. Their fatness, not an indulgence of nature, but an adaptation refined through time. Number 5. The baobab of Chapman, Botswana. In Botswana's Makgadikgadi Pan stands one of the most remarkable living giants on the African continent, the Chapman's baobab. This extraordinary specimen of baobab was once considered the widest known tree in Africa, with a trunk measuring nearly 25 meters, that's 82 feet in circumference, and standing more than 20 meters or 66 feet tall. While it partially collapsed in 2016, the remains of this massive water-filled trunk continue to stand. It's a reminder of the adaptation and scale that make baobabs some of the fattest plants on Earth. Named after the 19th century explorer Thomas Chapman, who camped nearby during his journeys through southern Africa, the tree served for centuries as a natural landmark and a wayfinding point. Before modern roads and GPS, Chapman's baobab marked one of the major routes across the salt pans. Its size made it visible for miles, and travelers often carved their names into its bark, a practice common among explorers in the 1800s. Like other African baobabs, this one possesses a hollow, fibrous trunk designed to store water. The internal structure allowed it to hold over 100,000 liters of water during the wet season. The interior hollow is large enough for several people to enter, and was sometimes used as a shelter by traders and explorers. The bark was smooth and silvery gray, capable of regenerating quickly after being stripped or damaged. Its branches spread outward like roots that reach into the sky, which is a feature that's led to the nickname the upside-down tree. During the dry season, when its leaves fall away, the tree's thick, water-laden trunk appears even fatter, which dominates the landscape around it. Chapman's baobab was estimated to be more than 1,000 years old at the time of its collapse, though precise dating of baobabs is notoriously difficult. Studies revealed that the tree was composed of multiple fused stems, which is a feature that's common to these very old trees. When the main sections of the tree fell in January of 2016, the event made headlines across Africa. Researchers later suggested that changes in climate and prolonged droughts may have contributed to its collapse. Though even in partial ruin, its massive base still stands out against the huge emptiness of the salt pans. It continues to draw visitors who come not only to see the colossal girth, but also to reflect on its long history. It was and remains one of the fattest living organisms ever recorded. It's a monument of adaptation in one of the harshest landscapes on planet. Number 4. The Montezuma bald cypress, Mexico. Known in Spanish as the ahuehuete, the Montezuma bald cypress holds the record for the thickest known tree trunk in the world. The most famous specimen, the Árbol del Tule, located in Santa Maria del Tule, Oaxaca, measures more than 42 meters or 138 feet in circumference and 14 meters or 46 feet in diameter. Although many people are familiar with the Tule tree itself, the broader species is equally as impressive, with many individuals displaying extraordinary girth. It is a close relative of the bald cypress of the southern United States, but it grows exclusively in Mexico and parts of Central America. Unlike its American cousin, which thrives in swamps, this one prefers well-drained soils along rivers and lakes. It grows rapidly, of course, when water is abundant and can live for more than 1,000 years. The wood is soft and fibrous, with a high capacity for water, an essential adaptation for a tree living in flood-prone areas. During periods of drought, the tree retains enough moisture to prevent the tree from drying out. The bark is reddish-brown and fibrous, which peels away in long strips, while the leaves are soft and feathery, arranged spirally along the branches. In the rainy season, the cypress produces small cones containing seeds dispersed by water and wind. The species does provide shade, it stabilizes riverbank, and supports the birds and insects of the region. The name ahuehuete comes from the Nahuatl phrase ahuehuetel, meaning old man of the water, a reference to both the tree's age and its association with rivers. These trees were sacred to the pre-Columbian civilizations, including the Aztecs, who planted them in royal gardens and used their presence to mark important sites. Today, the ahuehuete remains the national tree of Mexico. The Arbol del Tule is the most famous example, but other massive specimens exist in Chapultepec Park in Mexico City, in Hidalgo, and in Chiapas. Many of these ancient trees continue to grow despite urbanization and pollution. The internal structure is spongy and waterlogged and allows it to expand outward year after year. The Tule tree itself weighs an estimated 600 tons, and it's been declared a UNESCO-recognized natural monument. Genetic analysis in the early 2000s confirmed that it is a single individual, not a fusion of multiple trees, which reinforces its claim as the thickest single tree on Earth. Number 3. The Socotra Desert Rose, Yemen. Alright, we're going back to Yemen. On the isolated island of Socotra grows one of the strangest and fattest plants in the world, the Socotra Desert Rose. This subspecies of the more widespread desert rose is known for its swollen trunk, which can grow to several meters in diameter, giving it the appearance of an oversized bottle or a vase rising out of the barren landscape. Native only to Socotra, this plant has evolved in extreme isolation, developing unique adaptations to survive one of the driest environments on the planet. This plant belongs to the dogbane family and is a succulent shrub rather than a true tree. Mature specimens typically reach 3 to 5 meters in height, but what truly distinguishes them is the girth of the trunk. It's about 8 feet across at the base. During the brief wet season, the plant produces glossy green leaves and an abundance of striking pink to deep red flowers. These blooms attract insects and birds and that help pollinate the flower before the dry season returns, at which point the plant sheds its leaves to conserve moisture. And beneath the surface, the root system mirrors the plant's girth. It's thick and tuberous, and it stores additional water underground. Unlike many succulents, which store water in the leaves, this species concentrates nearly all its reserves in the trunk and roots. When the rains arrive, the plant rapidly absorbs water and swells, and as the months grow dry, it slowly contracts. This cycle gives the trunk that bulbous, uneven shape, with some specimens resembling enormous amphorae or twisted sculptures. Local people regard the desert rose as a landmark and a symbol of its resilience. Though the sap is toxic, small amounts have been used in traditional medicine, and the plant features prominently in local folklore. The species is considered vulnerable by the IUCN because of habitat loss, grazing by livestock, and climate pressure. Conservation projects on Socotra are now working to protect the remaining populations within designated reserves. Few plants are as visually striking or as otherworldly as the Socotra Desert Rose. Number 2. Grandidier's Bottle Tree, Madagascar. Another extraordinary fat plant from Madagascar is the Grandidier's Bottle Tree, a species belonging to the same family as the desert rose. It grows primarily in arid, spiny forests of southern and southwestern Madagascar. It's not really tall. Most specimens reach only about 3 meters or 10 feet, but the trunk can become astonishingly thick. Some mature plants have bases over 2 meters or 6.5 feet, giving them a squat, pot-bellied appearance. The trunk is smooth, silvery gray, and sometimes covered with a fine powdery coating that reflects sunlight. Its shape can vary from perfectly round to irregular and twisted, depending on the terrain and water availability. At the ends of its few short branches, it has beautiful star-shaped white or pale yellow flowers, which contrast with the gray of its body and the red sands around it. The flowers are pollinated by insects, particularly moths, that are drawn to their sweet scent. The plant's name, Pachypodium, means thick foot in Greek, which is an apt description of its swollen foot-like trunk. Like other pachypodiums, it exudes a toxic milky sap that deters herbivores, which does ensure that its valuable water remains safe. Because of its peculiar form, it is often mistaken for a miniature baobab, though it's not related. Both species evolve similar forms independently, which is a process known as convergent evolution, as a response to similar environmental pressures. In the wild, these bottle trees grow among spiny and thorny shrubs, which form surreal, almost alien-looking landscapes. Unfortunately, like many plants in Madagascar, they're threatened by habitat loss. The species is not yet endangered, but local populations have declined due to land clearing and illegal collection. Botanists have described it as one of the finest examples of plant adaptation in the tropics. Its short stature, thick skin, and massive trunk work together to reduce water loss and maximize its survival. They seem ancient and resilient and almost humorous in shape, like nature's own sculptures. Their swollen forms tell a story of persistence in one of the world's toughest environments. Number 1. The African baobab of Sagole. At the top of the list of fattest plants on the planet stands the legendary Sagole baobab. It's one of the largest living trees ever recorded. It's found in the Limpopo province of South Africa. This monumental specimen measures over 22 meters, 72 feet in circumference, and stands about 20 meters or 66 feet tall. To the Venda people here, it's a sacred tree associated with fertility, wisdom, and continuity, and for centuries it's served as a gathering site for community meetings and rituals. Like other baobabs, its immense girth is the result of its unique biology. Rather than a solid wooden core, the trunk is made up of multiple fused stems with spongy, fibrous tissue. This adaptation allows the tree to survive in southern Africa's long, dry seasons. The bark, smooth and gray, is fire-resistant and regenerative, capable of healing even after being stripped away by elephants seeking moisture. Each year during the rainy season, one of these produce large, pendulous white flowers that open at night and are pollinated by fruit bats. These blooms give rise to oval fruits containing a dry, powdery pulp rich in vitamin C, which has been used for centuries by local communities as food and medicine. Baobabs do not grow as a solid single trunk. Instead, they form clusters of stems that gradually merge together. As the tree ages, the inner tissues remain soft and water-rich, while new growth thickens the outer shell. Over hundreds of years, that process can create the characteristic swollen, irregular shape that defines mature trees. In the case of the Sagole baobab, these fused stems form a massive hollowed-out core large enough to hold several people. Researchers estimate that the Sagole baobab is over 1,200 years old, though some estimates suggest it could be closer to 1,500. This one's home to hundreds of birds, including a large colony of mottle-spined hornbills that nest within the branches and hollows. Its wide canopy provides shade in the climate, while the soil beneath it supports a surprising variety of grasses and smaller plants that benefit from the fallen leaves. Sadly, though, many of Africa's great baobabs, including the Sagole, have shown signs of stress in recent decades. A 2018 study in Nature Plants reported that several of the continent's oldest and largest baobabs have died or partially collapsed. The Sagole baobab remains alive, though, but conservationists now monitor it closely to ensure its survival for future generations. To stand before the Sagole baobab is to confront a living piece of deep time. Its trunk is not merely thick, it's monumental, a huge cylinder of living tissue that's outlasted empires and climate. The grooves and folds of its bark tell the story of centuries of adaptation.